Good morning. The Assembly Republican Conference prides itself on being a voice for the developmentally disabled community. Over the last couple of years, we fought to restore $90 million of unjustified budget cuts, and we will continue to advocate for those that need our help the most in our state. We are also advocating, obviously, in this year's budget for increased compensation for our direct care workers throughout the state that work directly with the homebound and the developmentally disabled community. They need our help. Arbitrarily, the governor has increased wages for the fast food industry, but has neglected the very primary care workers that are taking care of our most vulnerable. The governor has had misplaced priorities in this particular budget, continuing on over $400 million tax credits for Hollywood, proposing $200 million in a new trail. Not to say that trails aren't a good thing, but when we don't have adequate funding sources for the developmentally disabled community, but we have money for Hollywood and a trail, I think the governor's misplaced the priorities. But over this past year, our conference held 11 forums across the state, and we heard from families, caregivers, individuals with developmental disabilities, and other community stakeholders. We've developed a report that addresses many of the shortfalls in care and services facing those with developmental disabilities.
The task force hosted 11 regional forums focused on the impact of the Olmsted decision on individuals with developmental disabilities and their families, as well as the effectiveness of transition plans for individuals in sheltered workshops. Most importantly, it was an opportunity to hear directly from the stakeholders across the state about how we can better support the rights of people with developmental disabilities. The phrase "one size fits all" or "does not fit all" was heard repeatedly throughout our forums. Additionally, we are currently drafting a package of legislation that would address many of the problems shared by stakeholders during the forums, including enacting a Bill of Rights for individuals with developmental disabilities to ensure their rights and desires are properly considered at all times, requiring the Department of Labor and the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities to conduct a wage study for direct care workers, establishing a service learning or an internship program for students interested in working with individuals with developmental disabilities at sheltered workshops, providing support tools for families to assist in navigating service coordination, amending tuition rates for special school districts, and directing the Commissioner of Transportation to conduct a statewide study and review of the transportation of individuals with developmental disabilities. I'm confident that this package of legislation will ensure we begin to take the necessary steps to provide the best possible care and respect and services for individuals with developmental disabilities and their families.
This one-size-fits-all approach is the biggest misunderstanding in helping this community. The truth is, not everyone fits into a specific mold or silo. We need to provide options that consider those that don't fit into this box. My child Oliver is the perfect example of this. Oliver would be considered the epitome of not fitting into any specific box. In fact, I've gotten calls from many families in not just my district, but across all of Long Island, whose children or from individuals who just don't fit into any specific box, and their needs are not being met. Simple things like medication changes, finding a healthcare aide or nurse, daily fights that these families should not have to encounter. This one-size-fits-all approach is very, very frustrating, and it's just not working.
I think the other big issue is state resources. That all of these changes that are coming about with no additional dollars at a time when staff turnover is at a crisis, staff vacancies are at a crisis, and layoffs are happening. So where are the resources to make the change happen?
The closing of developmental centers, sheltered workshops, is not creating choices or opportunities for those individuals unable to safely work and thrive in a community setting. They are being forced out of their homes and campuses where they are thriving and happy. It has nothing to do with a safe, appropriate placement for the individual or the community. It is all about the bottom line and meeting deadlines. For individuals that can transition safely into a work and residential setting, we celebrate and we applaud you.